Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Rachel. If you are new here, welcome. And if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back. We are going to do another fun eyeshadow focused video. I know, surprising, shocking, but I saw Heather Austin upload a video called Not Too Neutral Palettes. And I thought this was a really unique and fun video idea where she went through her collection and talked about her favorite palettes that she would consider not too neutral. So I did the same. I have a lot of palettes I want to talk about. My favorite palettes that are either half neutral, half colorful, or neutral with a twist. And these are my favorite types of palettes, if I'm going to be honest with you. Ones where I can get a neutral look, but I can also get a colorful look or a smoky look or just some versatility in one palette. That is my favorite type of palette. So we're just gonna get right to it. If you enjoy eyeshadow content like I do, I would love it if you would give this a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. And all of the palettes I talk about, if they are still available, some of them aren't, I will link them down in the description box below. By the way, if you don't already follow me on Instagram, I definitely would because I post a lot about eyeshadows over there. Like, I do eyeshadow looks all the time. I do reels of new palettes that I've received. So definitely follow me over on Instagram. Now, some of these ones I am kind of agreeing with Heather. I am going to link her channel below, obviously, if you don't already follow her. But this was one of the palettes that she mentioned, and I 100% agree with what she said. So this is the Haunted Europe palette from Nomad Cosmetics. I love Nomad Cosmetics. I like their formula, but also just the theming and the thought that goes behind each palette. They do palettes based on different destinations that they've traveled. And this one is the Haunted Europe palette. It has a holographic cover. And then inside you have this like grungy, neutral, but pops of color and different looks that you can get in this palette. You've got your browns and all of that, but you also have some warm tones. You have some greens, you have some more cool tones, some purples, a cranberry. This is, like, in my opinion, a not too neutral palette. You have those neutral tones, but then you have different kinds of colors that you can really do different looks. I really, really like the matte formula in this. It's definitely more on the buildable side. And then the shimmers are really pretty. And again, they're more on the buildable, like not super duper in your face metallics. So if that's something that you prefer, I think you would really like this palette. And personally for me, these are the types of palettes where there's so much work put in and love put in. I get excited about indie palettes. I really do. So this is a great one. The next palette is from another indie brand. So this is the Dollhouse palette from Blend Bunny Cosmetics. If you've been here before, you know I've talked a million times about Blend Bunny and how much I love the Blend Bunny matte formula. I think it's absolutely magnificent. They are buildable, but they end up building up to look like they do in the pan. So you can get full pigment, but you can also keep it sheer if you want to. They blend like a dream. And this palette, she had said this is a neutral palette for the color lover. So I would definitely agree with that. And me being more of a neutral person, I find this to be colorful. So it goes both ways. You've got really muted colors, and you also have each column has its own color scheme so that you can really create a look that way, or you can mix and match, which for me personally, because I'm not like a super creative person, I like that they lay it out that way so that I don't have to think too hard about putting together a look. I will say the mattes in this are phenomenal, and the shimmers in this are also really pretty. They are much more on the creamy side, so they're really, really creamy and sparkly. So if you are prone to creasing, you definitely want to use like a really good eye primer because they are almost wet feeling, but they give off a really pretty shine and sparkle. I suggest this for anyone who is a neutral lover but wants to kind of dabble in color. That is definitely what I feel about this palette. Okay, we're gonna talk about one that is not available anymore, but this one is a really nice palette and I don't use it and I haven't used it in a really long time. This is the So Jaded palette from ColourPop and Kathleen Lights. Listen, how beautiful is this palette? If you have this palette, you should pull it out and use it again because I'm going to. This is the perfect example, in my opinion, of a neutral palette with pops. You have, of course, a lot of neutral colors sprinkled in here, but then you've got really grungy tones, blues, purples, greens. You've got a little bit of everything. And the colors are in the mattes and the metallics, which I love. This is such a versatile, jewel-toned but grungy palette. And like I said, I don't really use this often enough. I really have to pull it out again. It is a larger palette, of course, as you can see, but I feel like there are a lot of looks that you can curate in this palette, and it's not like super chaotic, if that makes sense. So really enjoy this one, and I just stuck my finger in one of the shades. But this is a great, great palette. Okay, the next one I'm gonna talk about is I would consider probably the most neutral of all the ones I'm gonna talk about, but it has a little twist to it. So this is the Nudie number 2 from Laura Lee Los Angeles. I absolutely love this palette. I feel like it is so underrated and I hardly hear people talking about it. I much prefer this one to the original Nudie Patootie palette just because I think the quality is a little bit better. These are more pigmented mattes. The shimmers are more punchy, more sparkly, more metallic. And as you can see, it is very neutral, but you do have this pop of like a deep purple where you can pull the look more purple. You have this blush pink, so you can make it more rosy. And then you have this peachy color, which can make it more warm and more peachy. I think this is a really good palette for someone who is very much a neutral lover, but you might want to throw in a pink or a purple, and you've only got one of each shadow, so it's not taking up like half the palette. So this palette, unbelievable quality. Absolutely love it, highly suggest it. Okay, this palette is a new one for me, and I've been really enjoying the looks I've been getting out of this palette. So this is the Ollie's Lash Zone palette from an indie brand called Ollie's Lashes. First of all, I bought it honestly mostly because of the theming. I love like horror movies, spooky stuff, Halloween, I'm all about it. And this company is a vintage horror makeup brand. Like she bases her makeup and stuff on vintage horror. So I love the theming. And then when you open it up, you truly get like half neutral, half colorful here. You've got your neutral mattes, you've got some neutral shimmers up there. And then you've got like a blue look, a purple look, a yellow. You've got all different kinds of things in here. The thing I love most about this palette are the shimmers. They are unbelievable. This purple, I wore this yesterday on my eyes. Stunning. This, it's like a multi-chrome. It looks red in the pan, but on your eyes, it just shifts so many different ways. Absolutely stunning shimmers. The other thing that I like about this palette with the versatility is you get different textures. So if you want like a super metallic, shifty look, you have shimmers like that, but you also have some more like satin shades for every day. If you want to just, you know, have something a little more on the subtle side, you absolutely can do that as well up top here. So there is a lot of versatility with the textures as well. Okay, I want to talk about a really tiny curated palette that I feel like is versatile enough to get multiple looks, a neutral look and a colorful look, and it's tiny, which I think is so not common. Rare, that's what I'm looking for. It's rare to find a tiny palette that has versatility. And this one is brand new to my collection, but I've already used it a handful of times. This is the Mini Star from Natasha Denona. So I have several of her mini palettes and I absolutely love her mini palettes. I actually prefer them to her larger palettes. I just feel like they're so easy to create quick looks and the quality is really, really good on the ones that I've tried at least. I am wearing this palette on my eyes today and I used every single shade in the palette on my eyes today. I used this one in the crease, this darker one on the outer corner, this like more greeny gold all over my lid, this like kind of standard champagne gold more in the inner part of my lid, and then this, which is I think is kind of the most unique shadow in the palette, this like blue to brown duochrome, which you've seen ColourPop do 1,000 times, but I have that smudged on my lower lash line. So those are the metallics. I just feel like it's so fun and I love the looks I've gotten out of this mini palette. Absolutely love the looks. And I think the addition of this duochrome with this more greeny gold really does make it neutral but colorful. It's not super colorful, but you can add that little bit of interest And I wouldn't call this a straight up neutral palette. I love the Mini Love. That is my favorite mini palette that I have, but this one, I don't know. I feel like this could take its place. I have been absolutely obsessed with this mini palette. So this is definitely a really good curated, not too neutral palette. Okay, the next palette I want to talk about is the What's Up Beauty Geodes palette. This, in my opinion, is definitely half neutral, half colorful. And really, the mattes in this are the neutral part of it. So you have a whole bunch of neutral mattes and then pops of color that you could put on the lid. So I think this is perfect for like a day to night situation where you could take just the mattes to use on your eyes for during the day if you are in more of a conservative type of workplace, or you just prefer to have a more neutral look on your eyes. And then you can just literally take one of these colorful shimmers on your finger, dab it on your eyelid, and shazam, you have a little bit of a kicked up, fun, colorful look. I love this palette. I think it is so fun. These shimmers in this are like absolutely stunning. The mattes are really good too. They blend extremely easily, but the shimmers, in my opinion, steal the show in this palette. I did receive this palette in PR. Everything else I bought. This is the only thing I've ever gotten in PR. I'm not doing the greatest swatches, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm trying. But they are just like super shiny, super sparkly, just absolutely gorgeous. And they add that pop of color to what would be a neutral look if you use the mattes. The next palette, Heather did mention this in her video as well, but I 100% agree. This is Unearthly Cosmetics Leather and Lace palette. I love Unearthly Cosmetics. I think they are one of my favorite brands. Their stuff is so, so good. And their eyeshadows are so, so good. I did do a 3 looks 1 palette video with this. I can link it down below. But this, I love this palette. This is one of my favorite palettes in my collection. It like speaks to me on another level. I love that you have this middle row of literally browns, like warm browns. Hello, yes. And then you have a row of purples and a row of grungy greens. Perfect. This, like with the Blend Bunny Dollhouse palette, I feel like is a neutral palette for a colorful lover or a colorful palette for a neutral lover. The quality of these mattes is so good. They are pigmented yet blendable. And these shimmers in particular in this palette, I think are so good. Like so, so good. Especially this shade up here called Chantilly. This like white, and it has like a pink reflect on the inner corner. Absolutely stunning. I'm running out of room on the back of my hand. That's why I'm putting it here, although you can't see it. Let me put it somewhere else. Can you see it there? I think so. So pretty. So, so, so pretty. Just like the Blend Bunny Dollhouse palette, it does really lay out looks for you if you go by rows. It's pretty foolproof, which I like. And I love this black. It is very black, really, really dark, true black. Stunning, stunning, stunning palette. I love it. Okay, this one I've mentioned on my channel before, but it is no longer available, so we're gonna speed through it. But I do love this palette. I have to admit, this is the BH Cosmetics Naughty palette. It's a giant palette, but somehow I don't feel overwhelmed with this. You got a lot of neutrals sprinkled in here, both with mattes and metallics, but then of course you've got purples, you've got greens, you've got pinks, you've got reds. You've really got a little bit of everything in here. Quality, 10 out of 10. Absolutely love the quality of this palette. This is a perfect not too neutral palette. If you have it, pull it back out again, okay? And if you don't have it, I'm sorry you missed it. It was really good. This next palette is an oldie, but I think it is still available. This is the Saharan 2 by Juvia's Place. I love these, especially these metallics in here are stunning. I like that you really get 3 neutral mattes, and these are super saturated. If you like very dark pigmented mattes, you would really like this palette because these 3 mattes are so, so pretty. And then you have a handful of neutral shimmers, but then you have pops of blue. So this is a traditional neutral palette with a pop of blue, okay? But it's beautiful. The blue, this is, oh no, I didn't clean off my fingers. Well, I just got brown shadow in the blue, so that kind of sucks. So the 2 blues, like, do you see that? Do you see that? Stunning. Oh yeah, absolutely beautiful. This one is more of like a minty greenish blue. And these metallics are your traditional old school, kind of thicker, but very opaque, very shiny metallics. This was an OG palette for me where I felt like I was like, oh gosh, there's blues, like I'm getting colorful, but it's still very neutral with pretty much everything else in the palette. Absolutely love this palette, would highly suggest it. Okay, this next palette I've mentioned lately on my channel, but I had to include it because it fits the theme. So this is the ColourPop and Star Wars palette. As of the moment that I'm filming this, this is no longer available, although I'm willing to bet they are going to restock this because it was so well received and sold out so quickly. I love this palette. I love this palette. I really feel like you can get really beautiful neutral looks and like true neutral, but you have like a warm brown, you have more of a cool tone brown, you have neutral brown, you have a black, you have a burgundy, but then the metallics really take it to a more like colorful, fun, but different kind of colorful look. Blues and reds, and some of these shimmers have lots of shifts and like different textures. This silver, really? And then you have some of these marbled Super Shock shades. Absolutely stunning shimmers. This is one of my favorite palettes I've tried this year. I just love it. I don't know what it is. I feel like the color story just excites me and inspires me. And I feel like finally there's something different. Because it's hard. It's hard nowadays to do something different, in my opinion. But still, you look at it and you might think, oh my goodness, that's a lot. But you can still get neutral looks out of this. Then the last one I want to talk about is the Jackie, Aina, and ABH palette. One of my favorite palettes in my collection. I feel like this is the highest quality that ABH has put out. I love the color story. It is more deep, more punchy, more saturated colors. But again, you still can get more neutral looks if you stay over to this side, but then you've got purples and pinks. The metallics in this are absolutely stunning. The mattes are pigmented. They are not the easiest to work with if you've used ABH shadows before. They are very, very pigmented. So this is probably not the best thing for a beginner in makeup, but this isn't even available anymore, I'm pretty sure. Stunning, stunning palette that is colorful yet neutral. And the packaging, look at this. Do you see that? All right, and those are my favorite not too neutral palettes in my collection. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave me a comment down below letting me know what your favorite not too neutral palettes are, whatever that means to you. Like I said, I will link Heather's channel down below and her video that she did on this same subject. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me out a lot when you do that. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to subscribe before you leave. I do upload videos weekly, both beauty and fashion videos, and I would love to see you back on my channel again. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.